Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Let's carry on where we left off. We have made yet another breakthrough in this case. After our second summation examination of the trial with the jury, of course, we all came out of it looking like absolute idiots. The lot of us, thanks to Van Zeeks' counter-argument with regards to the knife and the book The Lion's Pride, which was found at the crime scene. He posits that they couldn't possibly have made it across the road unless they grew legs and used the crossing. I, however, have the same theory regarding another object. It is, of course, the bouquet of flower. The one singular rose that was dropped by Mrs. Beat here when she stumbled upon the body. I have a sneaking suspicion Roly Beat here moved the crime scene in order to shirk his duties as a police officer so he could celebrate his wedding anniversary. Don't these two just look like relationship goals? So, Ryunosuke has stated we have everything we need to take down this phony of a cop. What we need to do, I guess, is find out which statement we need to present our evidence for. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, I think this statement is as good as any to present evidence for. How he states he didn't take his eye off the crime scene for one moment. Nothing strange to report on that front. Interesting, considering we've just said that the crime scene was shifted across the road. I believe our best bet here would be to present the rose, saying that she dropped the rose where she stood. I think that's a good one, and if not, well, I've just saved, so clearly I'll just reload. Right, well, I think this statement looks as good as any to present some evidence for how he didn't take his eye off the crime scene for one moment. Nothing strange to report. Considering we have a crime scene that has crossed the road, I feel that's pretty strange, and you've left that out of your report, Constable. So let's go ahead and present probably the rose here, because Mrs. Beat said that she dropped it where she stood, and if I'm wrong, well, I literally have just saved, so I can just reload. So let's go ahead. I need to present this with confidence, damn it. There we go. The lack of music is music to my ears. You claim, Constable Beat, there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene. But that cannot be. Oh, no you don't. Don't you go falling asleep on me now.
What? What do you mean to say?
In your testimony just now, Mrs. Beat, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with the policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby.
Objection!
Of course you would object. Right this instant. Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single sorry blossom can be so described. He's on the same page on that front, that's for sure. No doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs.
Meager?
Objection!
Hey, I'll have you know that's a sentimental rose, but that's not why I'm objecting. But if that were the case, why did Constable Beat not testify to the fact? Why didn't he say that the flower rolled across the street, huh? If he's going to claim that the window had latches above it, which seems like an innocuous detail, why on earth would he not report about the singular rose rolling across the snow?
No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat swore to that on Scotland Yard's honour. But the bouquet belonged to me. It has nothing to do with the case. That's why Roly didn't mention it, I'm sure.
No, because sadly it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way round. What are you talking about? Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beat's bouquet, there's Mr. Garadeb's book. I'm telling you, Mr. Garadeb's copy of The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out of the window by his wife, would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here, on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beat's bouquet, again, we're just going to ignore the fact that it's just one rose, should have been dropped here at the scene of the crime on the east side of the street. But in fact, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's house. There's no logical explanation for those things. Unless somebody deliberately moved them. What, your wedding anniversary was more important than Mr. Natsume's life?
What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Roly's done something wrong.
Well, he has. And you're doing something wrong right now, too, you know.
Don't you listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says? Twittering on about books and bouquets. Why should we care? It's nitpicking, that's what it is.
Oh, good. Mrs. Garadeb's come round. Great to see her on her feet again. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garadeb. But deliberately meddling with the scene of the crime is a criminal offense. It's called, you know, what's the British word for it, damn it? Obstruction of justice.
Tampering, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's shorter as well. But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it. For a very subtle but compelling reason.
Objection!
Tampering? You've barely heard the term before! So what? So fucking what? Okay, I know what it means, and it applies here. Tell us, my learned friend. How do you spell it? Who would have possibly have had cause to carry out such an elaborate deception? Yes, there is someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence and all the testimony points to that one particular person. Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. It's not conjecture, Your Honor. I've got evidence. Take it easy. Everyone calm down, alright? Let's take this one step at a time. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime? Well, it is, of course, our good friend Roly Beat here.
Take that!
Yeah, take that. Eat it. Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Roly Beat. It was you. What? A policeman? A member of Scotland Yard?
What nonsense! Why would my Roly do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband. No Bobby works more tirelessly for the people of London.
Oh, right. I don't think he's straight right now. He's kind of wobbly, thanks to your yanking of his chain. I mean, his scarf. Mrs. Beat. You said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it.
You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. What about that Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it.
I thought he ran away and nobody else came back.
Objection!
Damn it, stop blaming my client! If that was true, Constable Beat would have seen him do it.
Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped the bouquet, Mrs. Beat, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Oh, well.
Objection!
You're objecting a lot right now, Van Zeeks. Clearly you're on the ropes. I am in hot pursuit of the true culprit of the case, which I've already theorized as the knife hit the casement window and landed unceremoniously on Miss Green's back. First you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. What's next? You're gonna say I'm the murderer after Mr. Natsume ends up dead when he's declared not guilty because I'm the Reaper of the Bailey, damn it. But your accusations lack one very important thing. Yeah? What? You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there is only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime. To hide something.
That's right. He's right. But my husband and I just happened to be there, that's all. So why would we have anything to hide? It doesn't make sense.
You've offered no motive for this alleged tampering. And until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats. Well, thankfully, I've been handed over the compelling motive by the very suspect himself. Constable Beat had a very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair.
Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve this mystery?
Hell yeah! How about that, dumb? I may have studied for only a month on a ship, but I do have common sense. Counsel, you have made a very serious accusation against the London police officer. Yeah, well, I've only been here 2 days and I've already uprooted corruption in your supposedly best police force in the world. So you should be thanking me, bowing down at my feet, handing me lots of money so I can spend it at the hotel. If you are mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out that your reputation as a lawyer will be irrevocably damaged. I'm stumbling over my words, I'm sorry. That's okay, I'll just go back to Japan. I'll practice back there. No one will know of my failures here in England. I'll just declare it a huge success. With that stark warning in mind, you will now explain to the court the motive for this alleged tampering. Yes, my lord. Okay. He was right, we do have all the ammunition we need. Constable Beat's motive for tampering with the crime scene was to hide where the victim fell. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby had to cover up at all costs. What?
Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we?
Oh dear.
On the pavement of Briar Road. We saw it happen, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't already know.
That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe. But in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all. And I can't even really call it a stabbing.
What? What?
Yeah, that's right. I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel. Aren't we all? If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nipponese friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening? I don't even know if we can call it a crime. Right here. But that's on the opposite side of the road.
I don't understand.
Well, let me calmly explain it to you. On the evening in question, Mr. Garadeb's book fell directly down from the open window above. That's just simple physics. And your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself. Good gracious. Your rose fell in the gutter without any light, so we didn't even know it was there. Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony this court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place.
That's right, I saw it with my own eyes.
Well, they're hardly individual witnesses, Van Zeeks, okay? They're a married couple. Of course they're gonna set their stories straight with each other. If they were two strangers, then yeah, maybe there'll be some credible, credence to their testimony. It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was the typical London fog on the ground when you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid. That was actually on the west side of Briar Road.
No, that's not true. It can't have been.
Constable Beat then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help, and he knows how much of a klutz you are when it comes to directions, so he had ample time to move the crime scene. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in this print, the victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, to the pavement on the east side of Briar Road. Extraordinary. But the constable overlooked one thing.
What? What did he overlook?
Your rose. The bouquet, I presume. Exactly.
The prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Van Zeek said it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light.
Yes, it couldn't be seen in the dark, obviously. Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in its original position, on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. How's that for conjecture, dumbass? Sorry. I'm a bit heated, okay? This is what happens when you're an ace attorney and you're starting to line up all the facts. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond? Of course, we all know it's not a theory. It's what really happened. Constable Roly Beat. Well? What did I miss? Huh? What? I was sleeping. Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important? I knew it! I freaking knew this would be his defense.
Oh, Roly. It isn't true, is it? What that lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is, because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know.
Yeah, no, about that upstanding part, I had a dream. A terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Oh, everything come out. Everything exposed. Huh? Only it seems... it wasn't a dream at all. Good golly! Oh my gosh, order! What on earth is the meaning of all this?
Oh, Roly, why? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it?
Okay, it's not a corpse, thankfully. Wishing the victim dead should be one too. Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London town. I can't say, sir. What? I really am ever so sorry about all this. Oh, so it wasn't as simple as just, moving along on your merry way to your anniversary dinner. Did someone put you up to this? For damaging the Yard's reputation, for everything. What's going on? I have a possible explanation for why, on that particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. Well, there's not much to unpack here. The guy's in dreamland half the time. And yet, Lord Van Zeeks, it is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. Exactly. Shit. I'm not just a lawyer, I'm in internal affairs as well while I'm at it. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Extraordinary? Well, thank you. Thank you, my lord. Counsel for the defense, if you please. Yes, my lord. Now then, I think you had better show us some evidence. At once, my lord. England, Japan. Makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions. What gives away the motive for Constable Beat's unthinkable actions? As much as I want to rush into this, I want to make sure that I present it correctly. Yeah, let's go ahead and present the warrant card. He wanted to pawn the crime off to the other officer, who was responsible for that particular beat. I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land, and I've only just arrived from Japan, and yet I'm still making waves like tsunami. So, please forgive me. Which is why all this information about London's so-called, bobbies is completely new to me. I've learnt that, though honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example. Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that the young Bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly. But for Constable Beat, the day in question was special. Special? How? On account of this bouquet, my lord.
Oh yes, it was our very first wedding anniversary.
Constable Beat had worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife that was disparaged, by the way, by the prosecution. Mind you, everyone in the gallery take note. He's an asshole. And was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal. When he and Mrs. Beat stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them, what must have gone through the man's mind? But sir, just on that one particular day I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat puts up with a lot being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. See? But the fact that you've covered it up until now is disgraceful. This is the warrant card that Constable Beat offered to lend to me earlier. Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with the initial investigations and help detectives. Aha! Constable Beat Is that, or is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day? I feel for the guy, truly. He's been overworked as hell. He's got a day that he wants to celebrate with his wife, who he clearly adores, and he's not able to celebrate it because of a happenstance, a freak accident, if you will, taking place right in front of him. I mean, surely it seemed a little harmless, right? Just moving the crime scene? Oh, at least now I'm not responsible. Unfortunately, by moving the crime scene, we're shifting the spotlight away from what truly happened in the case of events. Yes. Everything you said, it's all right. So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beat.
Oh.
Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat. Beat squared, if you will. Good gracious. Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you have done? It was the first time since I became a copper that I'd ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could still be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. We've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Why here? Why did this have to happen here? And why tonight, of all nights? Why? No wonder you curse God. He has a funny sense of humor. You know, making this incident take place on your wedding night. Oh, sorry, not your wedding night. Your wedding anniversary night, I should say. It's a copper's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then, when I opened my mouth to speak, it just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the beat. This is the next beat to mine, Pat. So you'll have to go to the police box that covers it. Turn right along Measham Street, and then all those instructions. Oh, even Susato feels for him. Fortunately, I don't think he's going to get a lot of sympathy from the higher-ups. Maybe his salary will get docked like Gumshoe. Oh man, no! I'm not supposed to feel bad for you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Constable. I just wanted just that one night to take my Patricia out for dinner. Oh, Roly. Just that one night. You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined. And so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction. Just across the street, to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care. I don't know, I feel like you could have played ignorance, you know, you could have just carried on your merry way, you know, got the police box, say, oh, I'm sorry, I got confused, I thought this was your beat the next day, but before then, you know, go out on your dinner, and once Mrs. Beat collects the officer from the police box, you know, that's when you pawn the crime scene off to him, and then you hurry off. You know, I'm sure that has less of a punishment than actively tampering with a crime scene. You see, I thought, well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see. I beg your pardon?
Oh, of course he did. Otherwise my Roly would never have left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement.
Ah, I see your meaning now. God got me back for my sins, didn't he? That's why. That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat.
Oh no, Roly. That was all my fault. I should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Roly. I'm sorry I couldn't help you actively sabotage the investigation.
And can you tell us, Constable? How many books did you move from one side of the road to the other in total? Oh, 4 it was. Yes, sir. Definitely 4.
3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, and the 4th being the one that fell from the window upstairs in the Karatep household, of course.
But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? When all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean, why that specific book in her hand? Just a coincidence?
Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it.
Right, yeah. She bent down to pick it up, and that's when the knife fell on her back. How you found it? What do you mean?
When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand.
You're sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding?
Oh, yes, sir. No doubt about it, sir.
Freaking thing's burned, for goodness sake. How could I mistake it for any other? Interesting. The 4th book's information has been updated. A book entitled The Lion's Pride that was in the victim's hand when Mrs. Beat first ran over to see what had happened.
I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see. There were only the 2 people at the scene, and Pat and me both saw it happen. However which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who'd done it, I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference.
I mean, yeah, you can kind of see it from his perspective, too. There's literally only one guy could be. They didn't, basically see the knife fall from above because it was dark and foggy.
I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it.
My lord.
Yes, Lord Van Zieks.
I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. They're no longer reliable and they're kind of a thorn in my side now. Please, shuffle them off. Constable, you may withdraw.
Yes, sir. Mr. Prosecutor, sir. What will become of my Roly? What will happen to him?
Well, he's gonna die, because I'm the Reaper. What do you think? For now, you are free to go home. The police will contact you in due course.
Please, don't punish my husband. This was all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late.
Oh man, I started off agitated by these guys, but now I'm feeling for him.
Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm beat. All right then, my love.
One last thing, Constable. Sir, let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you.
Yes, sir.
Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime. Well, at least Van Zieks is offering, like, forgiveness. He's basically saying, look, you fucked up, but you'll never do it again, right?
Never again, sir?
You mean to say, I mean, like, he's genuinely remorseful. Like, for goodness sake, give the guy a second chance. Leave. Now. This trial is not yet over. I feel like second chances are hardly given out these days. You know, everyone's getting canceled straight up. Like, you know, if someone's genuinely remorseful, give them another chance. If they do it again, then that's it, right? And plus, you know, who said forgiving meant forgetting? Like, you can forgive, but not forget.
Sir!
Well, thank you for your contributions to this case. Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. Who ever thought of a third party transplanting the entire scene of a crime like that? I did, Your Honor. I mean, my lord, sorry, I'm still living in the future. Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here. Principally, that the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is the only person who could have possibly committed this crime.
Objection!
No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there is someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back.
Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already.
Lord Van Zeeks, is this true? Regrettably. Very well. Name the person, if you will, and if further investigation is warranted, the prosecution has no objection to the trial continuing. I wonder, do we go back to investigation, or are we just going to stick to the trial for the rest of this chapter? You will name this other person who could have perpetrated the crime. Ms. Joan Garrett, my lord. The defense would once again like to request the cross-examination of a new witness, my lord. Once again? My assistant made the same request earlier. In other words, she's way ahead of all of us. In order to finally reveal the truth about this case, it's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garrett.
Me? Me? Oh, dearie me.
Objection!
That request has already been denied. Yeah, well, the facts have changed, haven't they?
Objection!
But the situation is very different now. Mrs. Garrett, answer me this.
What do you want now, you little toad?
I'll ignore that remark. At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent altercation with your husband, Mr. John Garrett. I'm not going to call it an argument because it was an altercation, okay? In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited, and to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looks out over Briar Road.
Well, what of it?
You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of the open top hinged casement window, the book plummeted directly down, finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident.
Yes, and as I said, what of it?
During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on. You would have thrown the fireplace if you could. Or fireballs. So, let me ask you one more time, Mrs. Garrett. Did you send a Hadouken his way? No, I'm just kidding. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back, have you really never laid eyes on it before? Well, if you're gonna lie, you better do it through your teeth.
I don't recall it.
Ho-ho! Seriously? You're seriously gonna lie to my face right now?
Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? And anyway, the man over there's and all that regalia said members of the jury needn't testify, didn't he?
Conveniently, yes.
Objection!
Oh? No, I have no recollection of saying that at all. Juror number 4. Oh, yes!
Oh!
Make no mistake. You jurors are not special in any way. You are not immune to the judicial process. If you know something about this knife, madam, let the truth come out.
But that's just a common or garden knife. It could have come from anywhere. We have several like that at home. If one went missing, how would you expect me to know? What's that?
Are you joking? What are you saying, please, Mrs. Garrett? Uh-oh, even the jury is turning against her.
Now you listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought that I'd injure someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it. Oh, the poor woman. So, yes, I want evidence. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep ignoring this hard fact. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist on this being my fault. You're going to have to prove to me that I threw that knife, if that's what you think.
Damn, if only we could identify fingerprints.
Come along now. Chop chop. Do your worst.
Well,
Well, Mr. Naruhodo?
If I had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already. Then take the stand, juror.
Oh.
The prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine this woman. Thank you, Lord Van Zieks. I guess it's because I showed him some courtesy in the last trial, you know? It's give or take. We got that kind of partnership going on across the bench.
I'm going to have to testify.
Juror number 4, as I'm sure you will appreciate, having observed it with your own eyes today, witness testimony can lead to the most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truths of which the witnesses themselves may not even have been aware.
Oh, dearie me.
So I demand your full and unadulterated testimony, Mrs. Garrett. And mark my words, in this court of law today, we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, counsels? Certainly, my lord. Oh, yeah? That's what we're supposed to be doing, right? That's my job. That's what I'm hoping for, my lord. Whew. Right. I can't believe juror number 6 is still on guilty. This is such a strange feeling. For the first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. Whew. We're becoming a lawyer! I'm here, in the Old Bailey. And I'm a lawyer. That you are. Especially with Cosmo's soul on our side. Witness, state your name and occupation.
Oh, yes. My name is Joan Garradeb. And I'm, well, I'm a juror, and such like.
You're a professional juror. It sounds like even she doesn't know if she's a housewife or a maid or what anymore. How about killer? Or attempted killer. The court has decided your testimony is required in order to clarify matters in this case. Do you understand, madam?
Yes, my lord.
You will tell the court everything that took place in your household on the evening in question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth.
Oh dearie me.
Shut up, Jody. Nothing to worry about now. Oh, Mr. Garradeb.
Oh, I didn't know you were here, John.
Interesting. Okay. Wasn't only you in the room that day, old thing, was it? Rather think I ought to testify as well, don't you?
But what about your knee, dear?
Don't you worry about that. Hardly notice it. I'm not the sort of chap to leave a comrade to face disciplinary action alone.
Oh, John.
Well, looks like they're falling back in love. I presume you are Mr. John Garradeb? Yes, sir. Former 2nd Lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the 4th Northumberland Fusiliers, sir. Shouldn't it be Lieutenant? Seen my fair share of action, and now living the quiet life, as it were. The quiet life? Were you not engaged in an incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in question? Well, yes. Quite. I missed war games, that's all. I believe this may represent a first in the proud history of the British court. Calling a juror to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, the court will hear your testimony now, juror number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and concisely the events in your home at the time of the incident in question. Sir, at once! Let's hear it. The Battle of Garradeb. Yes, on the day you're referring to, the wife and I did have a bit of a skirmish. Can't recall the reason now. Knocked a candlestick over and set fire to the carpet. Soon had it out, though, and got the window open.
Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could find to throw at him.
Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say I'd noticed if 1 or 2 went missing, I'm afraid. If that bally thing in the victim's back really was one of ours, you'll have a job proving it, I think. Really? Well, it is my job to prove it, so... Those words mean nothing. It sounds as though it was quite the battlefield in your household that evening. Although an entirely one-sided assault, it seems. The enemy caught us on the hop, sir. Had no choice but to dig in and take defensive measures. To be honest, if the enemy had kept shelling us for another minute, we'd have been toast. Of course, a veteran such as myself is only too aware that on every battlefield, You're just a gnat's whisker from death at any moment. Are we still talking about a marital quarrel here? Well, I must say I'm dubious that this testimony will shed any light on the origins of this jackknife. In combat, one's focus narrows such that surroundings are barely noticed. These witnesses may not be able to offer anything more than they have testified already. This may be a dead end. Manzeeks may well be right.
Well, whatever the chances. We only had this last cross-examination to uncover the truth, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, I'm afraid so. Very well, Counsel. Begin your cross-examination on the double. Alright. I think we're gonna need to start pressing again. The Battle of Garden.